Hi, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the National Parents Union presents Speak Your Truth with yours truly, Vivett Dukes. Tonight, my guest is not really a guest. She is my sister, my comadre, Marisol Rerucha. Marisol Quevedo Rerucha. Welcome, Marisol.
Vivett, thank you so much for having me. And thank you so much for putting that emphasis on introducing me and my name in the way that it was meant to be. So thank you. I'm so happy to be with you. Any moment that I get to be in space with you, even when we're in a meeting and we're not, in a Zoom meeting together and we're not connecting, just seeing your face and feeling your energy. I watched the show that you had with Nehemiah, and this just the tone of your voice, it does something inside of me, and I feel held, even though you're not talking about me. You're not, there's just something about the connection. So thank you for inviting me on the show.
Of course, you've taught me, you've reminded me of you've taught me so much in the short time that I've known you. Um, I like to tell people things about themselves when they are alive. It's very important to me. So many of the ones I love have passed on. And I need you to know that one thing you reminded me of is the importance of our names and even pronouncing your name properly. It's not Marisol. Please do not say that. You might say, it's Marisol. And yes, you can say it that way. And no, you don't have to be Latina to say it that way. That is your name that you were given. And it must be pronounced correctly. And I love when you make a point of just letting that be known. I won't acknowledge you unless you call me by my name.
And that was a journey for me. So when I was little, I had I'm the lightest and the fairest person in my family.
Hmm.
I always wanted to have, my hair was almost blonde when I was little. I always wanted dark hair, more olive skin. I always wanted to wear glasses because that's what my family looked like. And also, so it also is why speaking Spanish was so important to me. I wanted to, like, I always just felt that connection. All of my grandparents were from Mexico, and both of my parents were born here in the US. And my two brothers and I were born here in the US and raised. But keeping my language, I'm very proud of the fact that I still speak Spanish. But when I was younger, people would say, like, oh, I would say my name, Marisol, and I was so proud of it. And people would ask, well, how do you say that in English? And as a little girl, I would say, you don't. Like, my name is Marisol. It's not, you don't say it in English. And if people would ask, like, what is it? Well, it means it's the sea and the sun. But
Mm.
as I became a professional, in teaching, but it was really, I think, when I became a school administrator, that there was too many other things going on that I just stopped the fight.
Mm.
And it really wasn't until recently, and it was Tafshir Cosby, who during one of our meetings said, my name is Tafshir. And she said it, she pronounced it. And I started to realize that when someone would say Marisol, that it just started hitting my soul.
Mm.
And so I thank her for calling that out. So now professionally, when I go into a space, like I pronounce it the way, and if it's not pronounced, I'll even, phonetically, I'll put phonetically on Zoom, which I found has helped people. Um, but it's so important because, and I also, when people introduce themselves, I hear people say, my name is, and I never do that. I say I am,
That's right. That's right.
because my name is a part of me and I'm proud of it, but that this is who I am introducing myself to you. I'm
Yeah.
not telling you my name and giving you my stats. I am here with you, and who I am here and known as in this world is Marisol Quevedo, and I chose to be Rerucha, which is my husband's name. So,
Mm.
and I just, so thank you for this part of the conversation, because I think it's important, and I'm able to see. Hi, Naomi. Hi, Natasha. Um, thank you for understanding, Naomi, that the power in our names is critical.
Oh, Naomi, that's my homegirl. Hey, Nay. Oh, I wasn't looking at the comments. Hey, Mama Nay, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you.
If she's your homegirl, that's my homegirl. Hey, homie. What's up, comadre?
That's my Geechee sister. Ooh, South Carolina. This woman is something powerful. Naomi, you got to come on the show. I'm putting you on blast in front of everyone. You got to come on. Beautiful, beautiful woman. Marisol, when we first met, I have to share this because the connection is just so strong. Oh, sorry. Yes, long A. Naomi. 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 Yeah, see?
Gracias, Naomi.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And this is, I'm going to put it in the chat. This is what I see when we're in Zooms. And she's like, Marisol. M-A-D-E. I'll get it right. When we met, we didn't even speak. We saw each other.
And I recognized you. I claimed you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And you saw that I was unnerved. John was supposed to be with me that day when I met you, and he wasn't able to be there. And it was troubling me, but no one knew that. I didn't say it to anyone, and I was nervous because he was expected to be there. And you you saw me, and viewers, those watching and who will hear this, I don't know if anyone's ever seen you before. And you came and you just embraced me, and I just fell right into your arms. I started to weep, and it's okay. You prayed over me, and the whole weekend you checked for me. And since that day, you've continued to just check for me. Little messages, you mail me little things. And I have to say, well, Most High, what have I done to deserve this favor from this beautiful woman? I didn't know you. You didn't know me, but yet you knew me. Thank you for that. What Where does that come from? Because there's something different about you in that way to me.
There's two things. I think the easier thing to answer is that I know myself. And in knowing myself, really truly knowing myself. And what I mean by that is that I don't lie to myself about who I am. I'm learning to be gentle with myself, and to practice nonviolence in the way that I speak to myself. It's that part I'm learning. But I know myself. I know who I am. I know why I am. And because of that, it allows me to know and see other people. And I think what people feel for me is non-judgment. And that's because I've worked on the judgment towards myself. And all of that, really, the harder thing I think to explain, but it's not going to sound hard. But a lot of this happened because I was such a young mom, and it wasn't, I was 19 when I had my daughter. But the experience, and then 15 months later, I had my second daughter. And I took the charge of motherhood so seriously. And I really wanted to be the person who I want my children to be. And so that meant for me, that list of things, when you think about your kids, you think about their future, you think about who they are as women or men, or even thinking about them as grandmothers, thinking about who they are in their work, thinking about who they are to strangers, thinking about who they are to people that they see on the street. And I wanted to be that person that I wanted my kids to be. And so I feel very connected to motherhood and being a mother. And I feel very grounded in that. And I have a belief in our ancestors. And I really believe, I also, part of my prayer, and this was a gift from my tia, from my aunt, who's very faithful. I was raised Catholic. I am very spiritual, but that connection, I think, that I learned from her in that prayer and that way of being for people. Um, and in that grounding into my motherhood, I really feel that part of our, she taught me to pray to God to use me in this world. So that's one of my prayers, that whatever space that I go in with good intent, that I go in to be the best version of myself that I could be, that I do it releasing all of my shit, all of my stuff, sorry, all of my ego, my own stuff, right? My desire for control, my desire to be known, my own stuff that comes up, but that I enter a space and asking God to use me, asking Creator to use me. And I think that I have the blessing of the connection of motherhood. And I think that part of our connection is your mom. I think part of what, when people, and I get that so much, that people talk about the way that I hug them. And I think that it's not just me, that there's the power of the embrace, the acceptance of what people feel when I hug them and I hold them, is that it's not just me, that both of our ancestors are together in that moment with us. Um, so that's my long answer to you.
There was no, sometimes people hug you and they do that little pat. It wasn't that. Like, now, dear. It wasn't like that. It was what I needed, and I didn't have to say a word. Even when we came on just now, like before we went live, music was playing and we're dancing and jamming. It's like I feel at home with you. How do we develop that within ourselves, Marisol, to that work that's done? Because I don't think that just comes. What do
So
we do?
this is something I think that I think about in life, right? There's so much harm in this world. There's so much pain, there's so much violence that is offered to us throughout the day in multiple ways, that's offered to us through media, that's offered to us through exchanges with people, that's offered to us in something that someone else may be trying to give us, like get rid of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think recognizing that is the step, and the way that we can start to transform our world, because our world, our systems, like systemic oppression is real. Their systems, our systems are damaging people. 540 kids can cannot, their parents can't be found. 360 kids are missing. Like, our government has stolen children, and this is today. And it's so hard, it's so harmful, because these are real people, and these are the lives of children that we say that we care about, that is our future, right? So part of, because there is so much in this world that needs to be healed, where I feel we need to start is with ourselves, and doing the work of ourselves, of going inward. One of the things we talked about is that the connection that we have is really beautiful, and it is a blessing and a gift from God, and it's special, but it shouldn't be.
Mm.
And so the reason why it shouldn't be is because everybody should be able to connect and see. Can you imagine if people felt seen, felt heard, felt like they weren't being judged, felt that they were held
Mm.
by the people in their home, by the people in where they work, by the people that they see in the street, the people that are helping them? Imagine how different our world could be. But to really do that, we have to center down within ourselves, and we have to start to do that work in ourselves. And that work includes, for all of us, it's different. A lot of us have childhood trauma. We have a lot of things from our childhood that we haven't resolved. A lot of us are carrying pain. And I think part of the answer to the question is, if you are not connecting with people in that way, what's keeping you?
Mm.
What's keeping you from holding somebody and accepting them? What's keeping you from somebody knowing, and you knowing, that
Mhm.
you accept them and see them with no judgment, with love. Like what's keeping you from that?
My phone's about to, the computer's gonna die. I'm listening. I just need to charge it. Sorry.
Um, so I think that that's the work that starts within ourselves. And I think our opportunities to do that are, I think therapy is really important. I know it's something, that is something that's helping me tremendously. The other thing is connections with other people, like having people in your life that can be mirrors to you, and mirrors in a good way, that they will, that you have at least one person in your life that's going to tell you you're dirty in a way that you can accept, and that will love you, and the same thing, I'm very blessed to have my co-madre, my sister, my best friend Tia, who I've known since I was 12, and who knows the smell of my stinky feet.
Mhm.
And who, but the reason why we're able to connect with other people is that we first connected with each other. And I think, again, being able to learn and grow with somebody, and have somebody reflect back to you, not just the areas that you need to work on and the things that are causing harm, but the things that are really beautiful. Like to be able to accept when somebody tells you something that's really good about yourself. That's not very easy for people to do, because their pain is keeping them from that. So I think, my answer to you is it's always the work within us, because then we can start to really do work, and to connect with people. And it's not work, but it's connecting with people in a real and an authentic way.
I found that it requires a measure of vulnerability, and that is something that can be very scary. How do you let down guards and stop keeping up appearances when that really is the way that I'll speak for myself? I've been socialized by
Mm-hmm.
structures, constructs, things like
Mm-hmm.
religion, and what it is to be a female, and what it is to be Caribbean, to be Jamaican. There are just ways of being. And anytime I went outside of what was acceptable, those norms and mores, there was harsh backlash. And for me, I believe it fed that spirit of rebellion in me, where it
Mm-hmm.
turned into rebelling against myself, where at some points I lost touch with who I was. And it took a lot of traumas and disconnection so far removed that Marisol, one day I got up like, who are you? I had a daughter who died as an infant. I woke up with my daughter dead on top of me. And I was like, how did I get there? And that was a spiral downward for me. But in many ways, her death woke me up, because it brought me back to who I was, in terms of, well, when I need healing, what do I do? Those hymns that I was raised up on, I started singing them. They came back. The things that were so buried, I realized I didn't have to shun everything. There were beautiful parts, but to start to connect with, well, Vivett, who are you? Who are you really? At that time, I was about 28, 29. And the growth and the acceptance of who I was, not what someone outside of me told me I was supposed to be, because that is very, very punitive. It's not authentic. But once I started to find my way back to myself, who God ordained me to be, who I know myself to be, because I don't think anyone should know me better than myself.
Mm-hmm.
Even being able to see the ugly parts of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because for a long time, that was like, nah, that's not me. Nah, that's them. That's you. Why you being like that? That's you. That's your problem. You did that. Okay, while all of that might be true, Vivett, what role did you play in all of that? So
Mm-hmm.
the acknowledgement, like as you said, oh, your feet sink too, baby girl. Get it right. Once I started to get into that, it allows me now to be vulnerable, to see people, really see them and let them know, nah, I see you. You're good.
Mhm.
Even with what I see I might not like, I could still get to the core. And that core, one of the things you taught me with part of getting to the core is with breathing.
Mhm.
Breath of life
Mhm.
is something that centers us and connects us back with that core, helps us find our way back.
Mhm.
And I would love if you could share more about breathing with us because it seems so simple. And tonight, I want to let everyone know tonight, I do have an agenda because I need for us to heal.
Mhm.
We're hurting as a people in many ways. As a country, we're hurting. We're divided. We don't feel safe walking down the street. We're separated. Pandemic has us needing to be separated. But you know what? We were separated before the pandemic. Pandemic didn't do it. Pandemic just put a magnifying glass on some things that have been there. And so I want to use this platform tonight and the expertise that you have really to help us. Just, we're not therapists, but I believe we have some things that are inherent in us, some skills that we can develop to help. And one of them is breathing.
Mhm.
Yeah. Talk to us about that some more, please.
Well, um, there's so much, but the breathing, you talked about that breath of life. And I think that aside from breathing, I talked to Shirley Torres from Homeboy Industries last night, and one of the things that she said was that when she was pregnant with her daughter, that this woman, she was going to an indigenous ceremony, and this woman kind of stopped her and said that that baby that you're carrying is not yours. She belongs to the world. And
Mm,
it's your job as her parent to help her find her song that is meant for her to sing.
mm,
And I think that breathing, music, meditation, prayer, any type of ceremony, anything that it is that we can do that can help center us. Breathing is really important because it physiologically, all of those things physiologically do something to us. I saw this really beautiful picture of what water looks like with music playing, like water in a bowl, and there were these beautiful designs. I'm going to see if I can find that picture, but these beautiful. So it had a bunch of different bowls and a bunch of different pictures of different music that had played, and I thought, our bodies are so much water.
mm,
Imagine what's happening within us. Our brain has so much water. Imagine what's happening. So there's physiological things that help us. Breathing. So there's a breathing technique, and it was actually Dr. Anjali Lafari who taught the breathing technique to me. I used to, so I'm going to share the technique, but when I was teaching ninth grade in 2003 to 2006,
mhm,
we taught our students, I taught a class called Prep for Success, and it was about like getting kids prep for high school. So it was all ninth grade kids. We did breathing, we did silent meditation, and we did some body movements. And the students would report like just the feeling, the release of stress, and they would start to use the techniques with different, I mean, they would come in and when you're a teacher and you're like, I'm going to do it because it works for me, I think it works, it's a good strategy. But they would come back, they would come back to us after they had left our classes and tell us about how they used it to get through when they were really stressed at a test, or
mm,
because they had to go to court, and like the calm that happened. So the breathing technique that I use, and I start my show. So I have a show on Monday and Wednesday nights, and Anjali is on Fridays. So, and she really is phenomenal in this area, being able to give examples. But it's called the 4-7-8 breathing technique. So what it is you inhale for 4 seconds, you hold for 7, and then you release for 8. And you do this 4 times. And it can be difficult to kind of get going because the holding and the release, and if people are really stressed and really are not used to this can be kind of a hard one to get. But my recommendation is you just keep trying. I use a timer to do it so that I know that like it's kind of even. And then I'm also, I say it out loud, but really immediately reduces your stress, relaxes you, focuses you. So if
Mhm.
you want, we can do it here.
Yeah, I'm getting ready. I just want the hair away from me and just feet planted on the ground.
So I always tell, like planting your feet on the ground, even if like I'm on the second floor of my house, so I know that I'm not connecting to the earth, but I'm connecting. I'm connecting to the structure that's connecting to the earth. So having your feet firmly on the ground, and if you either want to close your eyes or if you want to just look down at a spot on the carpet and just rest your hands, and we'll just go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and guide us through this. So I will say what to do and then give the countdown. Okay, and we'll start with a big exhale. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So when we're doing that technique, I'm not doing the breathing with you, just that pattern for me,
Mhm.
that guidance
Mhm.
puts me in a space of calm and a focus. So it's so beautiful for me to even guide it and not do the breathing. I've been having a really hard time sleeping at night. And I've been doing this technique every night for the last, I would say, 2 or 3 weeks. Because right when my head hits the pillow, I get this surge of energy that's not good.
Mhm.
It's very like a stress, and I do the technique, and I immediately fall asleep. And so if you're having a hard time sleeping or resting, Anjali shares that she does this when she's transitioning in activities. But I think you just feel that difference. So I recommend that you do it at least once a day.
I definitely do it. If I feel like my pressure elevating, I feel like something's bothering me, whether it's with my students, I teach ninth grade too. So whether it's something with my students that's
Mhm,
like, okay, this is upsetting to me, something's going on, especially remotely. Well,
mhm,
since I learned it only in this time that I'm teaching remotely, and there are things about it that are very frustrating to
mhm,
me because I'm not that teacher that I know myself to be. Different now. I'm like a year one all over again because I didn't learn to teach like this.
mhm,
So there are times where I'm frustrated within myself and I can't show it,
mhm,
but I do this and it helps me. Like I'll literally just go off camera, like, excuse me for a second, breathe, because it doesn't take that long. It's a minute.
mhm,
So it's
mhm.
doable. You know what I mean? And I just come back and even the kids will be like, "Oh, miss, you look calm. Wow, you went to the bathroom?" I'm like, "Yeah, I went to the bathroom." It helps a lot. I'm gonna try it before bed because I noticed one thing. I gotta move the phone from next to my bed because I'm just reaching for it too much. Like this is becoming too much of a connection. It's unhealthy.
Mm-mm.
I had to put it away.
Mhm.
Anyone
Mhm.
else go through that? Do you experience that with the phone, like too much, like even holding it, like it's something, it's not healthy.
I keep I at certain points of the day. So as soon as I'm done with my day, I go downstairs, and usually it's about the time that we're getting ready to have dinner. I just throw my phone somewhere. Like I don't pick it up. I don't, like with family time. So there are just times in the day. At night I have it charging next to me, but I don't, once I go to sleep, like I don't wake up and get it. So I think having, it's, everything in life is about boundaries, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's about like it's about pacing yourself. But if it's something that's becoming a thing, you have to put it to the side.
Mhm.
You have to. There was something that oh, that's a great idea. So Naomi, I charge my phone in the office and not in my bedroom.
I like
Um,
that. I'm gonna start to do that because I do have a charger in the living room because that's sometimes where I work. So I'm gonna start doing that. Thank you for that, Naomi. And Natasha, yeah, it is like a security blanket. Like I'm always, even like the weight of it. There's something that's becoming too much a part of me when it's an inanimate object. I shouldn't be so connected to it.
you know what so this is kind of how I deal with my phone, like thing of not having it. If I'm with my family, I legit will be like, I don't need my phone. So if, like, I don't need my phone because these are the important people. So if something were to happen, like, I'm right here. It's when I'm not with them that I'll pay a little bit more attention. Like, I'll make sure that I check it. But if I'm with my people, like, my core people,
Mhm.
then why do I need my phone? Like for the emergency, because that idea of it being a security blanket, part of it is that thing, like, people need to get a hold of you, right?
Yeah.
But at certain times of the day, work is done. If anybody needs to get a hold of me, the ones that I'm going to wake up for, that I'm going to answer beyond certain times of the day, it's going to be my core family.
Right.
And if they're with me, I don't.
Bye.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm gonna start to do that. Thank you for that tip. Another tip. One of the other things you taught me, and I'm sharing Marisol with all of you tonight. I hope you realize that because you taught me so much. First of all, not first of all, because you said other things. One of the other things that you taught me is how to engage in having a difficult conversation in a relationship that is important to me,
Mhm.
because we have a lot of strategies for dealing with difficult conversations have entered our society that are very unhealthy. So we have things now like ghosting, where you just stop talking to a person, you just go ghost on them, you don't
Mhm.
answer their calls, you never explain why, you don't give anything. Like, people do this in intimate relationships, or who they thought were intimate, and just ghost. So that's unhealthy. There's also this, like, well, I don't care. I don't care, like acting like it doesn't bother when it really does, because that's a protection. And so there was a situation where I felt slighted by someone, and I knew it wasn't a relationship I wanted to walk away from, but I didn't know how to have it, because my way is to be, I can be passive aggressive. I can be a lot of ways that are unhealthy. I could shut it down. I could curse you out. I could do a lot of different things but I don't want to be like that, because I know that's not, like I talked about, finding my way back to who I really am in my soul. That's not who I really am. Those were ways I developed to become, because of trauma and pain and other things. And so when I came to you with the situation, you told me first that some of that is you. So
Mhm.
there's a piece of this you have to do some work, Vivett.
Mhm.
Because the fact that those comments or whatever bother, because there was a lot of, well, I feel that it was this and it seemed like this. And you're like, well, is that what you know? Did you ask? Or are you making these broad assumptions? But then you sat me down and we had like an hour long session where we walk through some steps that are in your book, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, in your book, and you took a page out of your book, literally and figuratively. And walk me through, like, okay, these are the steps. Could you go through that? Because can I tell you it worked? So I did it and it worked. And that relationship is so much tighter now. And I was able to pay it forward recently to a colleague who came to me with a similar, like, something happened and I don't like it. And how do I respond? And I said, I'm so glad you came to me out of the perfect thing and was able to pay it forward. So could you share that, please?
So I think I want to go someplace first. Thank you, first of all. And I'm going to have, so the book doesn't come out until January, but I'm getting my website done. And this section of the book, because it's something that I've been using with people, I'm just going to put it up for free and offer it as a resource. So as soon as I get that going, I'll let you know. Yeah, because it's something like, instead of, like here it is. But I want to go back just a little bit, and I think to that piece of the why you need, like, the way that people are responding to difficult conversations by ghosting or by being passive aggressive or by going off. Like, again, I go to, there's something in you that's being triggered. So a really good friend of mine, I just saw her. She's not talking to her sister right now, because her sister, in her words, is a liar. And so we talked through it. I'm like, why is that provoking you? And the way that I see it, so in a sense, so her sister lies. She knows she's a liar. She lies to her. So what? Are her lies hurting you? Are her, like, what's being triggered is you feel disrespected that she's lying to you. What's being triggered is that because she lies, you know that it's not allowing her to form friendships and you're worried about her. But you cannot control her. You cannot change her. So what you can do is accept her. And when if you know that she's somebody that just lies about all kind, like, then you know it. So then you just deal with her in the way without you being triggered or responding. And I know sometimes, like, I know that sometimes the way that I explain things to people can feel harsh, but I'm just very, very factual. So if somebody is coming at you and you're getting triggered, that's something in you. It's something that's happening, and for you to ghost somebody, nobody likes being ghosted. Nobody like, somebody just leaves your life. You want to know why. You want to be, and some of us want to know why, because if we did something wrong, we want to know it so that we don't continue that behavior. So then why would you ghost somebody if you don't want to be ghosted? If you harm somebody and they come off at you and they come at you very aggressively or negatively, and that, like, if that's not, if you would want them to approach you in a different way, then when it's your turn, when you're harmed, then you approach people in a different way. And so when I talk about the way that you start the conversation, I just need to say hi, because my mom says she's here. My mom is watching. Hi, mommy. um, um, she's
I
so
love
cute.
your daughter.
She's so cute. But I talk about it. You start the conversation, number one, from a place of love and respect for yourself, for the other person, and for the relationship. And sometimes in that relationship is also, it might be the mutual work that you're doing. It might be the love for the organization. It might be the love and respect that you have for the goal or the mission of whatever the reason why your relationship is together. But even if, like, let's say, even if some of that was a little bit absent, like maybe this is somebody you really don't like, as a person who honors and recognizes their own dignity, then I always recommend that you figure out how to have these conversations for yourself so that you know that you're communicating clearly with somebody else. If you were harmed, or if you were hurt, or if you were disrespected, or if you feel that you were not valued, that you communicate that. What's important in the conversation is what this is about. It's about you. It's about you communicating and stating that something was done that was not okay, and communicating that in a way that is not harmful, to the other person or to those things that I mentioned. So there's some factual things that you do. So I recommend that you start, when you're planning, so I recommend that you write the conversation out and you start with, why is this person important? Why is the relationship or why is the work that you have important? And you give some details to that. And from there, you write down what happened. So what happened and very factually. So this is what happened. And then from that point, how it was, how what happened, how it made you feel, or how you're perceiving it. And when you go into the feeling, so it's you want to get it written out so that you're not overly emotional. And emotions, it's not that you want to avoid emotions, but you want to get your point across. And some people can use emotion as manipulation, and that's not what this is about. Some people use tears as manipulation. Some people use anger as manipulation. That's not what this is about. You have a message that you want to communicate. And with so sharing what it is that happened and being very factual, then what is your goal? I'm sharing this because, again, you are important to me. You bring value. We have important work to do together. And I have shown you, like, this has been my piece. And this is where I'm hoping that we can go. And so once you share that, then you need to leave the space for them to respond. I think, with the person, you can set some things up at the beginning. So I'll just give you an example. So I would recommend texting or sending a message or calling, like, hey, there's something we need to talk about. Can we set up a time? And then as that starts, thank you so much for coming in and talking to me. This is really uncomfortable for me. And it's uncomfortable for me because, I'm being vulnerable, and I have to have a conversation with you that some might say is a difficult conversation, but I'm willing to risk being uncomfortable because our relationship and the work that we have to do is so important. That's more important than my discomfort. And and I also want you to know if there's any questions or anything that you have, that we're going to be able to talk about that. But first, I'd like to be able to share my message. Is that okay with you? And usually the people will say yes, but you set up that you're going to be sharing the message. And so, Vivett, who you are in this world is really important to me, and who you are in our work. I really value you. I value you for so many reasons. One, your heart. I see how much you care about people, about education, how much you care about those in our system that are most marginalized. And I know that you care. And that really connects with me because I care also. And I feel there's so much great work that we've done together. The work that we did with the policy committee, the work that we've done watching you shine, and that work. I love the questions that you ask, and it's important to me. When I see you in a meeting, I know that there's going to be great dialogue, great conversation, great questions. And recently, there's something that happened that I need to talk to you about, because I'm just going to be really honest with you. My feelings were hurt. And I don't think that I don't think that my feelings were hurt. So I want to talk about what happened and my perspective. And then I just want to give you some time. And if we need to continue this conversation later, then we can do that. But this is what happened. And then you go through what happened. And then you give that person their time and their space. So what I have found, and I've had people that have used this format with elected officials that have used this format in just so many in business relationships and personal relationships. And I think the reason why it works is that you're prepared, that you come in, like come in with your notes, come in your list of things that you want to say and the things that you want to hit. What one person told me, that person said, I I felt so good in the conversation because that other person was trying not to take responsibility. They were trying to deflect, but I was so clear about my message. So it didn't allow that other person, I forgot what that word is, but when you can like try to blame the person, or like you try to make that other person feel like it's their fault, like they couldn't there's a word for it that people use. But you couldn't get caught unawares because you were centered in yourself. So like, no, no, no. Intentions, or you didn't mean, or you thought you told me, or you this. No, 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 you didn't. And so like we're like, no, like this is the line. So it helps you be prepared and be focused and grounded. And then after, and the best feeling is that you communicated how you felt, and you communicated in a place that was that came from a place of love and respect for yourself and for that person.
Yes. One of the things that I found, Norma Jean, I'm so glad. She said, wow, thank you. I needed to hear this today. We always get what it is we need. Always. One of
Mhm.
the things that I found when I first, and I've done this 2 times. The first time I did it was just in the writing it down, because I, like you, I'm a writer.
Mhm.
That release, that first layer of release was very cathartic, and it allowed me to really go through and start to do some of the healing, that pinpointing, like, well, what was it that really got to me? What is it? So that part started happening with the writing it out. Also, and that's why I started to take some notes in the chat. When I said to the person, I really respect your work, and began to name some of the things, identify what it is about them that I truly respect, and like whatever that is, that disarmed them in a way that was embracing. So even though this was about to be a difficult conversation, because I think anytime you tell someone, oh, I need to talk to you, I think the first reaction is like, what's that about? But instead, it was like, wow, thank you, Vivett. Thank you. And so it already set the tone to be able to now go in and say, and just be honest, this hurt me. And in this case, I can say, I don't think you know. Right? And that, just the whole way that it transpired, the 2 times that I have done it, and then the report I got back, the good report from my colleague that did it, was like, it I've never had a difficult conversation like that before. It was still difficult,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't easy because it's almost like scripted, and it wasn't natural for me to talk this way. So it was very like looking at the notes, talking, but the outcome was amazing. Like, I can't stop singing the praises of how this just really works. And it gets back to the core of everything we've been talking about this whole time, the vulnerability, the honesty. And so it was like, for me, like, speak your truth just took on a whole new way, a whole new meaning, a whole new illumination. Because for me, speak your truth was like, speak your truth. And sometimes that's needed. But even in that, there's a way to do it that you're not pushing people away.
You know what speak your truth starts with? Knowing your truth. You have to know your truth, and then you can speak it. But it's in the knowing, and knowing your value, and knowing the things that you need to work on, and knowing the things that you're blessed with. It's about knowing yourself. And I think, in starting that conversation, even if there's somebody that you don't like and it's somebody at work, there's always something good, because we're not all good and we're not all bad.
Right.
There's always something that you can genuinely say to another person that you appreciate about them, that you respect about them. And when you do that genuinely, you can't fake the funk.
Yep. It comes across, and I think people aren't used to that. So that's the part that has the like, whoa, what? Oh, you coming at me real? You
Mhm,
being real? Like,
mhm,
yeah.
mhm,
And to tell someone you matter to me. How
mhm,
often do we say those words? Like just intentionally and looking someone in the eyes, even if it's through Zoom, not here, there, everywhere, all over, you matter to me. And
mhm.
that's why I want to have this conversation with you because
It's
I
by
want to
willing to be uncomfortable.
be
I'm
willing to be.
willing to face rejection, or I'm willing to face because you matter to, and it's real. The thing is that it's real. So like the process, that I've put together and that I've done, it's not, there's nothing really magical about it, but it has to come from a place of authenticity. It's real. It's not fake.
Not. It works. That's why I say it works. It worked. It's tried and proven, and it
Well,
really has amazing results.
Well, and the other thing, that I wanted to say is that even for people who don't consider themselves writers or who don't like writing, that process of putting down on paper and taking that time to reflect, even if you don't write it, but if you look at the questions, or look at the prompt of what do you appreciate or value or respect about this person, if you're a very visual person, or if you're somebody that likes just thinking about that, it just gets you in a different space, in a very real space.
Mhm.
And I recommend the writing because then you have it documented. But some people might want to draw it, some people might want to write a song, some people just really want to think about it, or maybe just put words down. Whatever it is that works for you, I think documenting it in some way is important. And then the other piece is then you can go back to your notes,
Mhm.
can go back to those things that you've already stated, which I think is really beautiful.
Mhm. It is really beautiful. What's the name of your book?
So we're not finished with the process. So I think that I showed you the cover, right?
Yes, you showed me the cover. I don't know how much you can share, but I just want to encourage people to get it because this is a time I'm going to speak for myself again. I don't know what others need. There's work to be done on Vivett Dukes. And
Mhm.
Vivett Dukes is at a place where she is willing and ready to do the work. And so when I find things that work as I'm on this journey, I hone in on it. I hold on because like it's needed and it's working. And having that success, not someone else outside of me saying, good job, Vivett, because for so long I've lived for that praise of someone else. But to be able to say to myself, you did good, baby girl. Whatever part of my, there's the little girl part of me, like, wow, you stood up for yourself. That was good. Thank you. Or if it's the grown woman part, like, that was good. You didn't let them steamroll over you in that meeting. Good job.
Mhm.
This the type of internal conversation is replacing some of the negative self-talk that was ruminating in my mind for a very long time, even when I didn't realize it. I don't know if people really say things, oh, that was so stupid. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop
Learn,
saying these
reflect
things.
on it. Why did you say that? What triggered you to say it? If it
Yes,
was something, what was it in you that needed to say that?
yes, yes, it works. So, when the book comes out, January is dropping 2021.
It's going to be the first book with the publishers, DBC, it's DBC Consulting Inc. It's beyond the surface of restorative practices. So restorative practices is something that's really known in school, but it's something that's been done in communities, and it actually started in the criminal justice reform movement. And I think it was in New York where they started with restorative justice. Yeah. But really, it's very old. It's a very old way of being. It's our ancestral way of being. which is, it's about connection. It's about, I think, the understanding around the responsibility that we have not only to ourselves and to each other, but to our Mother Earth, to the animals on Mother Earth, that we have not just to our ancestors and to our present, but to our future ancestors, to the future generations. But restorative practices, it's, there's, I call it, it's not just something that you do, but it's a way of being.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, so my website is under my name, Marisol Rerucha, and I will be, so probably in about, I'm going to guess, be about 3 to 4 weeks. The excerpt that has to do with difficult or challenging conversations, I forgot how I framed it, but challenging conversations, I'll have that process out for people so that you can look at it. I think that there's some pieces in the book, and I look at it as systemic transformation, because the goal is, for me in the work in this world, is not just about healing self, but you heal self to support and walk with others on this journey, so as they're healing themselves, so that we can start to heal and transform these systems that are beyond broken and continuing to harm people. But it starts with us. The work starts with us.
We need it. Our communities need it. We are hurting. We've been harmed. We
Mhm.
have learned to harm. We perpetuate harm. We get blamed when we harm.
Yeah.
Not much thought is given to, well, this is a learned behavior. There's generational harm. Nehemiah, our friend who was on the show earlier in the week,
Mhm.
talked about, the generational trauma. And as I was going back and watching it, Dr. Anjali was talking about trauma that's embedded in our DNA.
Mhm. So
Like,
the thing that we don't, I feel that we're very blessed in our Black and Brown and Indigenous communities to be talking about this. And it's an understanding that we've had. I feel like we've had this understanding for generations.
yes.
This is the work that I really encourage our white brothers and sisters to take on, because the blood that they carry has done a lot of harm. That blood of the colonizer, that blood, and it's important, I think, to dig into that work and to start to do their own generational healing, and to look at their DNA, because in order for us to be able to transform what's happening in the world, all of us need to do this work. I feel like in our Black and Brown communities, we've been talking about it, we've been doing the work, we know that it exists, but our white brothers and sisters have not seen the work in that lens for themselves. And I think, on that work of again, of the blood that they carry, that has caused a lot of damage. Not that they have to, I mean, and not with shame, not with any of that, but just really like the same way I'm doing my work, you know,
Hmm.
with love for themselves, with love and forgiveness, and to be able to get through it, because it's hard work, but we need them to do it.
I'm citing you on that one. I had to cite you because this is, as we enter into difficult racially
Mhm.
based conversations, which is something that has increasingly become a thing, we it's not about harming them, but there is an acknowledgement that is difficult, I'm finding, for the other party, for our white brothers and sisters, to be able to say, yes, this is true, yes, this did happen. Like, just that acknowledgement, and the lack of acknowledgement becomes a trigger. Like, oh, so you can't even say something happened, and then it just fuels further division.
I think the first step really is, again, I'm going to go back to that work of self,
Mhm,
because what connects us is our human experience.
mhm.
The reality is that we do carry trauma from our childhood, from decisions we made as young adults into adulthood, and all of us need to be on that train for reals, like legit need to be on that train of work, because I think us starting with ourselves and doing that work, then we can start to really dig in and start to think and talk about the systems and talk about those things that are bigger than us, and really get into the blood that we carry that's bigger than us, and get into that work. But I think first, and because I think that's part of where some of the disconnect is that, there cannot be an understanding, I think, on behalf of our white brothers and sisters, that they do also feel pain and have carried trauma, and that matters. That matters, and the work to do that matters. But I think doing that work first and starting to embrace that work for yourself, I think then the door can be opened to start to accept that there is historical and generational harm that people have caused in your bloodline.
I'm praying that with your book, we'll be able to hold circles, use it as a tool within restorative circles, that groups, societies can come together and start to use it and have something that was written for us by us.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times that can be a block too, or sometimes, I won't say a lot of times, but sometimes it can be a block where I'm looking at the source of the information. And if the source is not coming from somewhere that resonates with me, or someone that resonates with me, that brings up other stuff as well. It can be a blockage, so grateful for you for doing this work for all of us to have something to go to. You're a healer, you're a teacher. First of all, no, you are a daughter, a mother,
Mm-hmm.
um,
I'm a
wife,
grandma.
a grandmother, you're a teacher, you're a writer, you're a healer, you're a comadre, a phrase that you really broke down for me, what that means. I'm just going to say this, a comadre, if you don't know, it's not a word that I grew up with. But the way Marisol broke it down for me is, a comadre is a woman who you trust to be around your husband. That was real for me. Like, there's no, because that's your sister.
Mm-hmm.
Comadre. Not every culture has that phrase, or to go back to that. Cynthia says she loves you.
Oh, my girl, I miss you. Oh, she's so, if you two ever get to meet in this world, she is a light in this world. Oh,
On your show, right? You had her on your show a
yeah,
couple weeks ago. Yeah.
no, she hasn't been on. She's gonna come on the show. Oh my God, she's amazing. Hi, Cynthia. Yeah. So, and like Naomi said, it means co-mother, so it's also the person that you trust your children with. But the thing about a comadre is that in the English language, we don't have a word that explains the relationship, because the relationship, so you have a like, literally, it's the person who is the godmother to your child, but there's no word that explains the relationship between the two of you.
Right.
It's focused on the relationship between the kid and the adult, but we don't have a word to say that it's the relationship between the mother and the mother, or the comadres, the godmother and the mother, or the godfather and the father and the god. Like, there's not a word, and it's something it's a very deep connection and relationship.
It's deep because I was thinking about it like, oh, that's my homegirl. But
Yeah.
it's beyond a home. But it's like, for someone to call
I'm your homegirl, girl.
no, it's
No.
for someone to just know this, for someone to call you their comadre is an honor. It's like, it's something to really be like, it's an esteemed title. It's, to me, like how we say queen.
Mhm.
It has, but it's so many phrases melded into one. There is no literal translation. It's just comadre.
Mhm.
And it's beautiful. And I'm honored to be your comadre and to claim you as my own also. Oh, I could talk with you forever and ever and ever.
Thank you for having me come on. And I claimed you. I claimed you when I first saw you in the elevator. I was like, "It's mine, mine."
You did. You did, and I was like, everywhere you were, I was right there. Like, I'm with her. I'm with her. Yeah, it's beautiful. Oh, the chat was so lit tonight. Like so many people. So, oh, Naomi said I have learned a new use of the word tonight. Yeah.
Naomi, I cannot wait to meet you, comadre.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's deep. Thank you so to everyone who was here. We honor you. We bless you. We're grateful that you would take time out to share with us on tonight. And have a wonderful rest of the night until we see each other again. Take care.